Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, January 23rd, 2021, and today we're going to be focusing on a Sunbelt governor in the state of Arizona, Governor Doug Ducey, someone who just recently won his re-election bid. Actually, not too recently, but in 2018, I covered his election, and we talked about the possibility of him being re-elected. In 2018, he was re-elected by a pretty considerable amount, and since then, he's been a pretty strong supporter of President Trump, appearing with him as late as October. End of October, he appeared with Donald Trump at rallies, proclaiming that Donald Trump would win the state of Arizona, that Donald Trump would win the White House. And how does Donald Trump end up repaying him after the election? Well, considering that Doug Ducey stands by his election results that actually give Joe Biden the Electoral College victory in the state of Arizona, Donald Trump immediately turned on Governor Ducey, immediately turned on him as a particular governor because he upheld the certification in this state and did not object personally to the election results in this state. And that's something that really hurt Doug Ducey's chances at a Senate bid in 2022. And as you can tell from the title of this video, he has ruled out a 2022 governor bid. And I will talk about the implications of such a decision because he was number one for the GOP prior to the 2020 election results. He was there. He was a popular governor. COVID-19 really hurt his popularity, but if a vaccine was distributed, he was approved of prior to COVID-19 by a very considerable amount. We will actually take a look at his approval rating then and now because it has significantly shifted, largely because COVID-19 really struck a nerve with a lot of citizens in Arizona. On top of that, Donald Trump vehemently attacked Doug Ducey time and time again. Doug Ducey appeared with him at rallies, sent out ads for him, focused a lot of his efforts on re-electing President Trump. Even GOP chairwoman Kelley Ward, who was just narrowly re-elected, more on that tomorrow, because that is such a cataclysmic decision for the GOP in Arizona. I mean, they are going down the pathway the way the Colorado, Virginia GOP has gone. This is a state that could fundamentally shift to the Democratic Party because of decisions that are being made right now within the Republican Party. And Doug Ducey being attacked by the Republican president certainly does not help whatsoever. So we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at the comments that were actually made against Doug Ducey. And pretty much Donald Trump tweeted out saying, "Who needs Democrats when you have Republicans like Brian Kemp and Doug Ducey?" Now, if you don't know who those two governors are, they are the governors of Georgia and, of course, Arizona. So two battleground states where the governors stood by the certifications, said their election results were fair. Donald Trump clearly did not like that. He clearly did not like the fact that they were no longer going to go along with his baseless claims of election fraud. So looking at this decision, that's the wrong tab. We'll get back to that in just a moment. Doug Ducey's decision to not run for Senate is actually clearly outlined right here. They ask him, are you going to run for Senate? And he pretty much says no. Plainly no. It's not pretty much, actually. That's the wrong way to look at it. He says absolutely he is not going to run. Let's go ahead and find where the actual quote is because it definitely adds to the discussion because he is someone that I had mentioned was not target, but definitely the main person Republicans wanted to recruit for the 2022 Senate elections, given that it's expected to be a pretty strong win for the Republican Party nationwide if it's a red wave year, and Arizona could be a part of that win. So, two questions are asked. You met with Senator Mitch McConnell while you were in Washington. Are you open to running for Senate in 2022? When will you be termed out of the governor's office? I'm not running for Senate, he says. I got to know Leader McConnell through the open seat with the passing of John McCain. The purpose of the meeting was to talk about COVID-19 relief packages. That was what Doug Ducey and Mitch McConnell talked about. He said he's not running for United States Senate. So they clarify, quote, are you ruling out running for Senate? And he says, plainly put, I'm not running for the United States Senate. It's a no. I'm 100% focused on being the governor of the state of Arizona. I've accepted the role as chairman of the Republican Governors Association. So I've got a full-time job, and then I've got a full-time job beyond that. And that's what my focus is. So it looks as if Doug Ducey is withdrawing his name from the 2022 Senate election in Arizona. And I can hear it now, the collective cheers of Democrats around the country. Because even though Doug Ducey may have been attacked by President Trump, Trump didn't exactly win the state of Arizona. They may not like him through the primary, but if he wins the nomination, people are going to vote in self-interest. Even if they don't like him as a candidate, they will end up voting for him, especially if they want to check a President Biden now. I have to get used to saying that because, 3 days now, sometimes I still make that mistake. I apologize for that, but President Biden. So now that Doug Ducey's out, let's talk about why the Democrats should be not necessarily super confident in their re-election chances in 2022, but they should look ahead to the future as, maybe starting out even in the advantage, despite it expecting to be a Republican wave year. Because now that Doug Ducey is out of discussion, we could see someone who was pretty much an electoral juggernaut in 2014, 2018, no longer consider this bid. And he can't run for governor again, so it looks like the Democrats could have an opportunity to win the governorship in Arizona in 2022. The Arizona presidential results were very, very close. Joe Biden won the state by 0.3%. It was by no means a deafening margin, but it was still the first time a Democrat won in Arizona since 1996, 24 years in the making. Democrats flipped the state from red to blue. On top of that, in the United States Senate election, we actually see that this is the wrong one. We can actually go ahead and look at the Senate map right here. The Democrats picked up a seat in the United States Senate from the Republican Party. Mark Kelley won with 51.2% of the vote to Martha McSally's 48.8% of the vote. So looking at the breakdown in the Senate election, it was actually more lopsided for Mark Kelley. There was a lot more crossover support from those who voted for Donald Trump who also voted for Mark Kelley. And I find that very fascinating, but also it makes sense because Martha McSally was rejected by voters in 2018, renominated up to the United States Senate, or not renominated, nominated for the first time to the United States Senate to fill the vacancy set by former Senator John McCain by Doug Ducey. And Republicans, they knew that this would be something that would be very challenging, but they also didn't want to give up this seat. So Martha McSally seemed like the, at the time, I wouldn't say perfect fit. There were definitely members of the GOP that were saying, don't do this. This is exactly what's going to happen. And it did happen. But also, some people wanted to see her represented because she was a former representative from Arizona. She actually did well in House races, but her first statewide race definitely did not go well as planned whatsoever. And she pretty much is the senator who handed the Democratic Party 2 Senate seats in the state of Arizona. But Mark Kelley, not Kyrsten Sinema, will actually be the one up in 2022. And he's already been labeled as a swing senator. This is a state that is going to be very competitive. But with Doug Ducey out of the fray, he's no longer in discussion for 2022. It's possible now that Arizona could revert back to being a Democratic state, that we expect Mark Kelley to win, and Democrats can allocate resources to states such as Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and retaining Georgia and possibly winning or retaining New Hampshire, retaining Nevada, trying to make a play for Florida, right? If Arizona is out of the way, that's one state they know that they can have a pretty secure victory in. Now, I think it's going to be competitive regardless of who the GOP nominates, but not nearly as competitive as Doug Ducey. And I know that may seem very different from what you would have expected me to say a few months ago when he was being attacked by Donald Trump. And I do think that effect of Trump attacking him will hurt him in a primary. But I think if he made it past the primary in what would be a Republican wave year, I still think a lot of Republicans there in Arizona, whether they like him or not, are going to like him a lot more than radical leftist Mark Kelley or whatever type of, corrupt Kelley. I don't really remember what Martha McSally's comment was about Mark Kelley, but whatever is used to label Mark Kelley in the state of Arizona, I just know that Republicans are going to rather have a Republican, even if it is Doug Ducey, over Mark Kelley. They're not going to make the same mistake they did in Georgia Senate runoff elections, which is simply not voting in that ballot. So I think, even though it'll be competitive, this is definitely a sigh of relief for the Democratic Party because his pre-COVID, approval rating numbers were extremely high. Extremely high. That's why he soared to re-election in 2018, which was a year where the Democrats won the popular vote in the House elections in Arizona, became the majority in the Arizona delegation in the United States House of Representatives. They went from being in the minority to the majority. In the Senate race, we just saw Kyrsten Sinema won that Senate election in Arizona by nearly 3 points. But on the same ballot, Doug Ducey won by 14.2% in the governor election. This is actually very similar to his 2014 victory, which was slightly smaller, which means he's expanded in a Democratic wave year. 2014 was absolutely a Republican wave year. The state was much more Republican than it was in 2018, but Doug Ducey, with a very high approval rating, soared to re-election. which is exactly why the Republican Party wanted him and why his withdrawing from the race before it even begins is a very telling sign as to whether or not Republicans can really coalesce around a certain candidate that they may have been eyeing up prior to Donald Trump's election defeat. Everything has completely gone off the table for the Arizona GOP. Time and time again, they've nominated failing House candidates. Now they have nominated failing Senate candidates, and they are turning on their own members. They are attacking, censoring Jeff Flake, Doug Ducey. This is something that we never see happening. Being censored is not something that you would want to happen to you. That's something that's essentially telling you, if the Republican Party is doing it to their own party members, that this is someone who they do not approve of. They do not like in their political party. But I don't get it. Because now they're attacking a two-term governor. They're attacking Cindy McCain. They're attacking Jeff Flake. It seems the Arizona GOP is only attacking the members who know how to win statewide. Martha McSally couldn't do it twice. They nominated her up again. Kelly Ward couldn't even win a primary. She probably will try to do something again in 2022. But as is right now, the Arizona GOP is pushing away the only people who know how to win in the state. The only people who know how to win in the state. Because they have crossover appeal. The problem is the Arizona GOP is digging their own grave. Again, more on that tomorrow when we discuss Kelly Ward more in depth, because it could be, I'm not going to spoil the title of the video, but it could be something that is a very bad indicator for the GOP in Arizona. Could become the next Virginia GOP. And if you've seen the decline of the GOP in Virginia, which was very rapid following the 2016 election, I mean, if you're a Republican in Arizona, you know they need to get their act together. Because you cannot push yourself away from someone like Doug Ducey, who would have been a very clear, nominee in 2022, who could win. And now the Democrats have a shot at the governor election. They also have a shot at retaining the Senate election by a considerable amount. And I think if Republicans fail to realize that is going to be their own fault. I mean, this is not a Democratic wave type scenario. We are talking about Mark Kelley winning by a considerable amount, even in a Republican wave scenario, because Republicans in Arizona cannot nominate the right candidate. Doug Ducey was popular. Look at his approval rating here. He soared to re-election because of it. Right here, Doug Ducey, RAZ. 50% of Arizona citizens approve of him, only 29% disapprove of him. That's a difference of 21 percentage points. That's a net 21 percentage point difference between those who approve of him and those who disapprove of him. Now, we actually have new numbers from OH Predictive Insights. The last one was Morning Consult, and they stopped doing these polls after COVID-19 hit due to a lack, I guess, of an infrastructure, a virtual infrastructure. I guess they have calling centers that are in person that required them to work in person, that they did these every single quarter. But that was immediately before COVID-19, 50 to 29. Now it's 55 in the negative, 35 in the positive, which means he's decreased in support by 15 points from those who previously approved of him versus those who now do not approve of him. On top of that, he went from 29% disapproval rating to 55%. So it's a net favorability rating of negative 20 percentage points. That is a 41% swing since COVID-19 hit. That's combined with COVID-19 being very bad in Arizona, on top of Donald Trump now attacking Doug Ducey, saying he's a rhino, that he's someone who wanted Joe Biden to win the election despite Doug Ducey showing up at rallies for Donald Trump, campaigning for him. Donald Trump turned on Doug Ducey, and Republicans in Arizona did the same exact thing. And now only 1 in 3 citizens approve of him versus before, where the plurality, narrowing up to being a majority of Arizona citizens approved of him. This is such a considerable drop. 41% difference prior to COVID-19 from the beginning, from March, from January, from February 2020, from not even a year ago. He was in the positive, up 21 percentage points. And now he's down 20 percentage points. That's insane to think about. He could have been the perfect stellar nominee for 2022, even with that negative approval rating, if Arizona was able to get things under control, if COVID-19 was eradicated through vaccines and through research, clinical research, whatever needs to be done. Obviously not fully gone. Things take decades to go away completely. But if people are able to do it and things die down by the time we reach 2022, he could have enjoyed that recovery approval rating bump. He could have possibly went on campaign trails and trying to win back, focusing on winning back the Republican vote in this state that he lost due to Donald Trump's few tweets over an election that ended up with the same exact result. So many casualties on the side of the Republican Party. Brian Kemp, Brad Raffensperger, Doug Ducey. All of these people, Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue, all statewide officials who have won statewide races that are now being labeled names by the Republican Party or have failed under, supporting President Trump for the Georgia runoff elections. Donald Trump did all of this to get the same exact result, the same exact election loss against Joe Biden. It changed absolutely nothing. And now the Republicans are out of potentially, a Senate race in Arizona that was extremely winnable with Doug Ducey. Because without Donald Trump attacking him, his approval rating would be higher. Undoubtedly would be higher. It would be much easier to recover when you're down 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 even. Obama was negative 11 in 2014, ended office, plus 13. It is possible to recover. From 2020 to 2022, he could have done it. However, because the entire GOP in the state has quickly turned on Doug Ducey because of President Trump, and a very significant portion of that Republican electorate, which wouldn't vote for him in a primary, they may vote for him in a general, but they may not vote for him in a primary, it makes things a lot more difficult, and he has recognized that. And he has completely ruled out a Senate bid. And I think voters are really going to ensure that he follows that. Because if he's focusing all of his energy on being governor, there isn't necessarily time for a campaign when your citizens are dying due to a pandemic. It doesn't necessarily make sense if you are, especially someone as localized as a governor. I think it's very different when you're a representative or senator, because a lot of what you do, you go to Washington, you get things done that way. But when you're the governor in a state, I think that his statement was perfectly fine. I think his statement was something that really connected him with the citizens of Arizona. If he wants to run for political office in the future, I think this is the perfect way to set it up. Talking about how he's going to stick to his own job, not seeming like a political opportunist. I think every single move made by every politician is calculated one way or another. Absolutely. And I think this is his way of telling, the Arizona GOP that he may return in the future, but now could have been his time. Absolutely. 2022 could have been his time, but now it's not. Now it's not. And I think that, Republicans in Arizona may actually be upset about this. They may be upset about what's happening now, that they no longer have a key, shining candidate for 2022. And now they could end up losing the governor election because of Donald Trump really pushing away from that rhino image that if any of these potential candidates were supportive of Doug Ducey in one way or another, they're probably going to lose to someone who is Trump-esque. Or, Donald Trump could end up putting his finger down in this race, even though he's not the president, still has a very large influence over the Republican Party nationwide, and the Arizona GOP has shown they are loyal to him, not the people who actually win statewide in Arizona, the last few Republican officials who have come out of the state statewide to the Senate, to the House of Representatives. But looking at what could unfold in 2022, I think that a lot of Republicans are going to be very worried about the outcome in Arizona, because what normally would have been a very, very competitive race now might not be. They gave up someone who won on the same ballot the Democrats did by 14.2%. They gave him up, all to appease a president who got the same exact result. The Arizona GOP censured him, all to receive the same exact result, an election defeat. To push this narrative that the election was rigged, that changed nobody's mind nationwide. In fact, lost Donald Trump in approval support, led to the Capitol insurrection. Time and time again, this is something that has been used by members of the Republican Party recently since November to argue that the election was rigged. And now they're pushing away one of the few people who could help them win back the Senate. And he's been very clear. This isn't just because he personally does not want to run. Almost every politician is opportunistic. I don't think Doug Ducey is anything different. I think that he's someone who knows that he could have won in 2022, but now he can't because of Donald Trump's attacks. This was not something that was a long time coming either. Doug Ducey was endorsed by Donald Trump in 2018. Donald Trump praised him on every level. Doug Ducey was out there campaigning for him at in-person rallies in October of 2020. Nothing was leading up to this other than the fact that Donald Trump fairly lost the state of Arizona in the 2020 election. And that is what ultimately led to Doug Ducey's decline now to run in 2022. His approval rating dipped because of COVID-19, and now the Trump base no longer wants him in the party. The Arizona GOP has attacked him, even though he is one of the remaining statewide officials that are Republicans who have won in very, opposition wave years. And I think that's something that the Republican Party is definitely going to need to assess and realize, should we be pushing away these type of candidates? Should we be pushing away Doug Ducey, Jeff Flake, Cindy McCain, the few people who know how to win statewide races? And I think that, this is going to be a Senate race that Mark Kelley could win re-election by 2, 3, possibly 4 points in 2022 if Republicans can't nominate someone that's super strong. I think Doug Ducey was definitely the best person for the job, and Republicans just gave him up. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my post-2020 election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.